On November the 14th, 2025 at 3:30 p.m., I facilitated a 2-hour time management group with 6 teachers in our school planning room. Now, the purpose was to help teachers identify those time management barriers and develop strategies to improve efficiency and to reduce their work overload. I'd prepared the session with warm up activities and gave out handout material for the teachers. I also let them do a reflection form to help them to be able to reflect on the things that they might have heard and all this material they were able to take back with them. Now, the meeting followed my proposal, and all my participants did arrive on time and were active. The meeting followed a Foresight's structure of opening, working, and closing phase. So I began by setting my expectations, such as I talked with the teachers about confidentiality. I talked about respecting one another's opinions and allowing everyone to have a voice. And I talked about balanced sharing. Now, this helped lower the evaluation apprehension, and the warm up activity that I provided for my teachers was your day in 10 words. Now, this was something that I enjoyed watching the teachers go through. There were some positives and there were some negatives. And I noticed that in my group, I had seasoned teachers and I also had brand new teachers. This was their first year teaching. So it was a mixture of my group that had different opinions of what a day in 10 words looks like. Now, this warm up encouraged engagement and promoted early connection. So, my new teachers who really didn't know that many people and were really not confident in our environment yet and didn't have any really formed connections with our group, this allowed them to be more comfortable. Now, during the working phase, the participants discussed their challenges, and some of these were procrastination, interruptions in their classroom, their workload, and feeling really overwhelmed. Now, I use leadership skills including linking, summarizing, reframing, clarifying, and shifting the focus to guide the group. So, as we began to talk and begin to discuss what we thought these time management barriers and challenges were, I seen the group move from this is our struggle to maybe this could possibly be our solution. Maybe this is a way that we can begin to manage our time more wisely. Now, as the participants began to be more confident, and even my new teachers began to be more confident in the group, participation was steady, and cohesion increased as members encouraged one another. So I found that as I was watching, some of the seasoned teachers began to encourage the new teachers, begin to let them know that some things that they were experiencing was normal, and how to balance that was going to be really important. I demonstrated effective structure and facilitation by actively listening and summarizing and promoting clarity and support. And this was something the new teachers really needed. They needed that support, they needed that clarity, and they needed someone to listen. It was very important for them to know that people were listening and people were able to, maybe the seasoned teachers were able to provide them with solutions to that time management. When one member expressed overload, I reframed her comment, invited others to respond. I invited those seasoned teachers to respond on how do they manage taking the MCAP test and preparing for the iReady and still teaching their lessons. How do they manage their time when interruptions come and students are called to the office, or there's a fire drill, or there's an activity that they have not planned? This was something that we discussed. And this is why I invited others to respond, which improved our cohesion. Now, one challenge was balancing dominant voices with the quieter ones. Now, I know you're thinking, probably what actually happened. There are seasoned teachers who are more fluent and confident, talked most of the time in the meeting. But I did allow those new teachers to have a voice. So I was able to, although I used soft interruptions, I realized I needed to add more structure by allowing the group to take turns. Everyone had so many opinions. It was great. But I plan to strengthen this skill to ensure fair participation. I noticed that my new teachers, even though they participated, their voices were quieter, they were less confident, and maybe this was maybe because they were nervous or they really were unsure of what answers they should give or could give in the group, being the new teachers. But what I realized is when I was talking to one of the teachers and they began to explain how they were observed, and one of the things that they got dinged on was their time management of their skills, time management of what they had prepared in their classroom for their students. Now, this was a topic that many of them struggled with: how to manage the classroom, how to get everything in with such a short period of time. 80 minutes seems like a large amount of time, seems like you have time to do a lot of things, but when you're in it, it does go by pretty fast. This is how we can struggle with that time management bit. So in our session, we had seasoned and even some new teachers give advice to this young man and to each other on how to manage their time. The seasoned employees actually had a list of things that they said that they do. So when it's their planning time, they try to avoid distractions. If someone comes, they try to limit the amount of conversation so they can get key tasks done, so not to fall behind. They try to eliminate the distractions in the class. So when there are students that are struggling, they try to utilize the aids to be able to help shape that student and help to guide that student and give them that rereading of instructions and give them that support they need. These were some really key things that helped us realize that in time management, in these barriers, because the barriers and challenges will come. You might have a student that might struggle in reading, might struggle in math. And here you have the student who's in your class, but then you might have a group that's really proficient. How do you manage that? And this is how we begin to delegate and begin to manage our time wisely so we can maneuver in every area. So this experience highlighted how leadership behaviors influence our group interaction. When I begin to take and guide the group into the direction that I needed them to be in, because we're talkers. And so I needed to guide them to let's maintain the time management barriers and challenges. So when we did a day in 10 words, when we did our reflection, I began to ask questions. When we began to say, well, what is time management? And what are the barriers that I see in my course of my day that are kind of holding me up? My biggest takeaway, I would say, is the importance of intentionally facilitating to reduce anxiety, preventing that social loafing, and supporting that balance of all participants. So you don't have one group that is talking more or talking less than another. Moving forward, I will apply more structure with that sharing method that I really seen as more of a challenge because of nervousness or being a new teacher. I noticed that that was something that I would love to improve on in my next meetings. Now, continuing practicing that active listening, but it's very important, key to actually hearing and being able to support the teachers in their concerns and working on managing the group energy. This group was high. Everyone had something to say. Even if it was something quiet, everyone had something to say, and everyone needed their voice to be heard. So effective leadership requires that flexibility to be able to guide the group, being aware and having empathy when someone is just maybe not as more confident as another, or they're struggling with a certain issue. And this session reinforced how meaningful groups can work when they're guided thoughtfully and purposely and with intention. I thank you so much for listening.